Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say? This is Bill Press here. We'll be back to today's broadcast with all of our great guests in just a moment here. But first, just a word about Free Speech TV. You know, I started my nationally syndicated radio show in 2005, almost 8 years ago now. And I've also done, think about it, this is my 5th national television show on CNN. I was co-host of Crossfire. I was co-host of The Spin Room. On MSNBC, I was co-host of Buchanan and Press for several years. On Current TV, did a show called Full Court Press, and now the Bill Press Show on Free Speech TV. And I've got to tell you, in all that time, with all those different networks, all those different shows, I never felt as at home and as comfortable and as good about what I'm doing as I do right now on Free Speech TV. I'm so glad to be part of this great network that brings you people like Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Pakman. So proud to join that lineup. But, and this is the kind of media, the reason I feel so comfortable, because totally independent, totally free to talk about whatever we want to talk about. You get to get involved in the conversation. And that's the kind of broadcasting you'll find nowhere else. It's truly independent, truly transparent, truly truthful, speaking truth to power every day. And that's what we need in this country. But, of course, without any corporate money, without any political ads, without any government money, free speech depends on you to keep us going and to keep this great lineup coming to you every day. So we ask you, if you're already a supporter of free speech, to renew your sponsorship. If you're new to free speech like I am, then join us any way you can. Go to 877-378-8669 and send us whatever support you can. Be as generous as you can. Or you can go to freespeech.org. As a little incentive for joining us, here are a couple of things to consider. If you can give $120 a year, that's just $10 a month, you'll get a signed copy of my book, Toxic Talk, all about right-wing talk radio, who they are, how bad they are, and what the left has to do to get back into talk radio. For $240 a year, that's $20 a month, get a copy of Toxic Talk and a copy of my favorite book that I wrote, How the Republicans Stole Religion. They think they have a monopoly on God, and they don't, because God was a liberal, we know that. And if you can do $360 a year, that's $30 a month. These 2 books, plus a copy of my latest book, The Obama Hate Machine, all about the Koch brothers and the billions of dollars that they spend to try to defeat anything that Barack Obama stands for. So we need your help. We ask for your help because we want to continue this great broadcasting. Again, you can join us by phone at 877-378-8669 and send your pledge, or go on freespeech.org. Be as generous as you can. We'll keep coming to you every day, and thank you.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Warning, this headline this morning, a testicle-eating fish has been caught off of New Jersey. Oh my God. Headed for the Potomac? We hope not. Good morning, everybody. I just caught my eye this morning here. Whoa.
You just woke me up, buddy.
These fish are from the Amazon. And they caught one off of northern New Jersey. Right.
I mean,
watch out, man. I'm not going swimming in the Atlantic anymore.
No, hell no.
Good morning, everybody. Here we go, Thursday, September 26th. What do you say? Good morning, good morning. Great to see you this morning. It is the Bill Press Show, and we are coming to you live from our nation's capital and our studio right here in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill, right in the shadow of the Capitol Dome. Bringing you up to date on what's going on here in Washington, D.C., around the country and around the globe, and reaching out to you on your local progressive talk radio station. Good morning, good morning. Thank you for tuning in and being with us this morning. We're also, you can check us out on Free Speech TV, the new morning show on Free Speech TV. If you got a satellite dish, you can catch us on DirecTV or the Dish Network. And for those of you prefer to just stay glued to your computers all day long, you've got us on the video stream at TawkrTV, and you find that by just going to youtube.com/TawkrTV. Great to see you today, and the House is back now. The Senate has been here. We've heard the last of Ted Cruz, and now we start the back and forth debate and the procedural votes that could or could not lead to a government shutdown on Monday, September 30. We'll bring you all the latest on that and then take your calls and get your comments as to what it all means. Can you believe how out of control and how irresponsible this Congress is, even allowing this to get this far? 866-55-PRESS is our toll-free number. That's how you reach us by phone. On Twitter, send us your comments at Bill Press, at BP Show, and on Facebook, it's facebook.com/Bill Press Show for all of our friends on Facebook. Dan Henney's got the week off. Peter Ogburn doing double duty here this morning. Hello, Peter.
Hey.
Hey, good to see you.
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. Why isn't it Friday?
Right?
You know?
Yeah.
We worked hard this week.
Yesterday was one of those Wednesdays that felt like a Monday. So I feel like we're stuck. I'm ready for tomorrow.
Yeah, so am I. I'm ready for every Friday. Alicia Cruz is here on the phones, and Cyprian Bolding keeping us looking good on the video cam. Videographer extraordinaire. Good morning, Cyprian. How about one of the biggest comeback stories in the history of American sports happened in San Francisco yesterday afternoon. The America's Cup race got down to two countries, New Zealand and the United States. Last weekend, it looked like it was all over. New Zealand was up 8-1. You had to win 9. First one to win 9 wins this.
I mean, those are incredible odds.
Incredible odds. It turned out that then the America's Cup made a little switch in their crew, and they brought in a Brit to sort of take charge of the American ship, a Brit against New Zealand, which is all very interesting.
I mean, if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
And then the Americans started winning. And then New Zealand, the Kiwis kept saying, no, well, all we need is one more. All we need is one more. By the way, the America's Cup, nobody in this country was paying attention to this. Nobody. The reason I was is because one of my very, very best friends was head of the America's Cup committee in San Francisco, put the whole thing together. Mark Buell. And I was at their launch party with the mayor of San Francisco here in Washington, D.C. a year or so ago. But at any rate, so I followed it. Nobody here was paying attention to it. In New Zealand, this is like a BFD. This is really a big deal. Millions and millions of people were watching this every day, and they couldn't believe what happened. The Americans won one, won another one, won another one. Pretty soon it was tied 8-8, and yesterday, America won. Here's the call.
Oracle Team USA take the America's Cup here in San Francisco. An astonishing comeback. They'll retain the America's Cup and have a shot to defend again the next time around. Oracle Team USA crossing the finish line. That's the sound of victory here in San Francisco.
There it is. Historic America's Cup, because this is the first time the America's Cup has ever been raced, or the race has ever been held, where people on shore could see it. It was inside San Francisco Bay, inside the Golden Gate. But it's always, has ever been, like off Newport, Rhode Island, was always out in the ocean where you had to like have a yacht, your own yacht, or rent a boat to go out to see it. This was right inside San Francisco Bay. So
the pictures
are spectacular.
Incredible.
Spectacular.
I mean, it's these giant ships. And then, and like you said, the people all along the shore, they're kind of watching. It's amazing.
Yeah. They're like 30 stories high.
Yeah, no, they are gigantic. They are impossible to imagine.
Very, very exciting. As is our lineup today. President of the Teamsters, Jim Hoffa, in studio with us. Josh Earnest, Deputy Press Secretary from the White House, will be here with us as well. And later in this hour, we'll check in with the Democratic Governors Association about that big governor's race in Virginia. Big debate last night between Terry McAuliffe and Ken Cuccinelli. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
A couple of stories making news. RoboCop is finally coming home to Detroit. Back in 2011, some enthusiastic residents of Detroit started a Kickstarter fund to build a giant RoboCop statue to erect in the city of Detroit. The statue would be based on the fictional crime fighter from the movie of the same name, released in the 80s. The fund caught fire online, and they were able to raise nearly $70,000. They commissioned an artist to build a statue, and good news, it's nearly done. Brandon Wally, Director of Development for the nonprofit Imagination Station, who put this all together, says the statue, quote, will add nicely to Detroit and the rejuvenation that's happening here. And he hopes it will be erected downtown Detroit. For one, support this idea.
I support this idea, but I think Detroit needs a little bit more than a RoboCop statue.
Man, this is the beginning of the comeback.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to take care of their pension problem.
Something you don't hear every year. The New York Yankees will not be going to the playoffs. Last night, they were eliminated from contention as they lost to the Devil Rays. It is only the second time in 19 years that the club didn't make the postseason.
Whoa.
They had an awful season plagued with doping scandals and injuries, kept them sort of out of the contention. So they were bracing for the worst for quite some time. But still, this has got to sting if you're a Yankee fan this morning.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of that game last night. It was pretty sad.
Yeah.
To lose to Tampa Bay?
Yeah, it just shows how their season's gone. And when comedy turns ugly, last night was the funniest celebrity in Washington competition. It's the annual gathering of D.C., quote, celebrities to try their hand at stand-up comedy. Last night's winner, you'll be happy to hear, Bill, was Grover Norquist.
If Grover Norquist is the funniest person in Washington, D.C., then this town is sicker than I thought.
Yeah. If that doesn't make you angry, by the way, this will. Professional comedian Dan Nanan made an appearance there. He was sort of helped to move the crowd along as a professional comic. But Josh Rogan, writer for the Daily Beast, tweeted about some of the stupid racial humor that Nanan was making. Nanan saw them on Twitter, confronted the writer for Daily Beast, and punched him in the face.
No.
The cops were called. Nanan was arrested. And he shows no signs of worry. In fact, just a couple of hours ago, he tweeted, quote, had a blast headlining the DC Improv, end quote.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
I hear it was a big hit.
I used to be invited to that every year.
Yeah.
And I just refused to do it.
So
And
dumb.
finally, I didn't even know what happened last night. They stopped. Good. They stopped inviting me.
There you go.
Well, yeah. Well, the big clown here on Capitol Hill, of course, is Ted Cruz. Yeah. He might have won the funniest person in Washington just if they just replayed parts of his speech to the Senate. It lasted 21 hours and 19 minutes. Ted Cruz ending it yesterday, as you know. This was his marathon speech. It was not a filibuster, faux filibuster at best, if you want to call it that. It was just really a me, look at me, Ted Cruz kind of speech. And he ended it yesterday. It was sort of like a movie. He rolled the credits with thank yous, almost an hour of thank yous.
I want to thank my entire staff, many of whom have been here all night, have been here. And after this is proceeded, I intend to enter their names in the record, but I will not read them at this point in the chamber. I want to thank
God.
Democratic senators who have presided, Senator Baldwin, Senator Manchin, Senator Warren, Senator Donnelly, Senator Kaine, Senator Murphy, Senator Schatz, Senator Baldwin again, Senator Donnelly, Senator Durbin, Senator Heitkamp, and Senator Markey.
I was waiting for Sandman Sims to come out and brush him off the stage. He went on and on on.
This is where they cue the music. They were the Oscars, right?
That's right.
Exactly, yeah. But the question about this is, what was really accomplished by Ted Cruz's speech? Nothing. In fact, right? They ended the speech. Harry Reid said, if you want to, you can speak for another hour. Cruz at that point said, no, I got to pee so bad I can't talk anymore. I'm done. And then they held the vote. Okay. Now, after speaking for 21 hours and 19 minutes against Obamacare, and then they hold the vote to proceed with debate on Obamacare, how do you think Ted Cruz voted? He voted yes. What was the point? He voted yes. He voted to start debating Obamacare. Now, he'll vote against the final thing perhaps, but he said, remember, he was doing this because he objected to the process. He objected to the procedures whereby they would end up keeping the government running without defunding Obamacare. And yet the very first chance he has to put himself on the record, he voted yes, which left even his followers scratching their heads and saying, well, what was that all about? What was it all about? You tell me. It was all about Ted Cruz, if you ask me. 866-55-PRESS. In fact, at the very time Ted Cruz was speaking, the very night when he started speaking, there was a fundraiser for Ted Cruz here in Washington, D.C., $2,500 a plate, and they had TVs around the room so that those people at the dinner could watch Ted Cruz speaking in the United States Senate. That's what it was all about. So the worst of it is, what happened right after, well, first of all, what happened right after he votes yes, right? He attacked many of his Republican senators during his remarks, compared them to the people who refused to stand up to the Nazis in World War II. His Republican senators, colleagues who were refusing to join him in defunding Obamacare and shutting down the government. That really pissed off some people. Kelly Ayotte, who's usually, a very strict conservative for sure, said that what Ted Cruz doesn't realize is because Obamacare is funded through entitlements and not through the regular budget, that we shut down the government, we do what he wants, Obamacare is still going to roll on.
To those who are asking us to take that step, I would say that even if we were to do so, we will not achieve the purpose of fully defunding Obamacare or stopping Obamacare.
And then John McCain said, hey, pal, don't compare me to any Nazi.
I resoundingly reject that allegation. That allegation, in my view, does a great disservice for those brave Americans and those who stood up and said, what's happening in Europe cannot stand.
So first thing he does is he pisses off his Republican colleagues. The second thing then that happened yesterday is the conservative bloggers immediately came to Ted Cruz's defense, accusing the media of not taking Ted Cruz seriously. And here was the rip yesterday, right? Well, wait a minute. Look at Wendy Davis. Yeah, you all treated her like a hero, and now Ted Cruz does the same thing, and you treat him like a clown. That is such BS, and you know it, and I know it. I mean, there's a big difference. The first big difference is Wendy Davis, was a real filibuster. She was trying to block a vote on that anti-abortion bill, the vote that was scheduled for midnight, and she did it. She talked long enough that vote did not happen before midnight. So remember, Rick Perry had to call the Texas legislature back in a special session. That's the only way they got it done. Wendy Davis, a real filibuster on a real issue, and it had a real result. Ted Cruz, it was a phony filibuster. The vote had already been scheduled. He did nothing to block any vote. And when he's done talking, he ends up voting for the damn thing. So, I mean, don't tell me that there's a double standard here compared. One is a real hero, Wendy Davis. The other is a real clown, Ted Cruz. Even Republicans see that. What happens now? 866-55-PRESS. What do you think it was all about? What did Ted Cruz accomplish with his 21 hours and 19 minutes? 866-55-77-377. Let's talk about it here.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, we'll get back to today's program in just a couple of minutes here. Hope you are enjoying it. But first, I need your help. Need your help and need your support in keeping free speech going and keeping us on the air with all of you. You know, a lot of people ask, how do we put this show together every day? Well, we're at it all the time, looking at what's happening in the world. Peter Ogburn, Dan Henning, and I, we have a conference call at 5 o'clock every afternoon about what we're going to do the next morning. And then we huddle here about between 5 and 6 before we go on the air to put the whole show together. And then we have another meeting right after the show to start planning the next day's show. So we're always at it. You know, whatever the issues of the day are, whether it's all the unrest over maybe shutting down the government, whether it's the civil war among the Republican Party these days, or President Obama's efforts to have a peaceful solution to the problems in Syria and with Iran. We take a look at it all. We bring you the stories that we know that impact you and your family. We look for what you will want to talk about, what's really important to you. And we could do that nowhere else but right here on Free Speech TV, because Free Speech TV is totally independent, totally transparent, totally truthful. No corporate money, no political ads, no government agency money. And that's why we depend so much on you. So we ask you again to be as generous as you can by helping keep free speech on the air. You can make your pledge by going to the phone number 877-378-8669, or, of course, online to freespeech.org. And I'll tell you what, as a little incentive and a thank you for your help, if you were able to help us with $120 a year, that's just $10 a month, we'll give you a signed copy of my book about right-wing talk radio, Toxic Talk. You can help us with $240 a year. That's $20 a month. You get a copy of Toxic Talk and my book, How the Republicans Stole Religion. How about all the Republicans claiming they have a monopoly on faith, which they don't. In fact, they distort the Bible for their own purposes. And for $360 a year, $30 a month, if you can, these two paperbacks plus a copy of my latest book, The Obama Hate Machine, all about the Koch brothers. But again, we depend on you for your help to enable me and Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Packman and all the rest of the great lineup on Free Speech TV to be with you every day. So help us out, please, as much as you can. Be as generous as you can. Telephone number again is 877-378-8669, and you can reach us online at freespeech.org. It is a great honor and a pleasure to be with you every day, so keep us going, help as much as you can. Thanks.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour now. Happy Thursday, September 26th. How about it? Big brouhaha in the Senate after Ted Cruz finished his marathon talkathon, all about me, the Tedathon. People are calling it the faux filibuster or whatever, and his Republican colleagues slapping back at him because he attacked them and said they reminded him of they were like Neville Chamberlain who refused to stand up to the Nazis because he wouldn't join him in voting against Obamacare, and then he turned around and voted to open up the debate on Obamacare, which confused a lot of people. Peter, you got some...
Yes, indeed. We're on Twitter at BP Show, at BP Show. A lot of people seeing right through Ted Cruz's speech. Rob Teed says this speech by Cruz is his first shot at the 2016 presidential campaign. KG says, you said it, Bill, when you said fundraiser. That's what Cruz was up to. Robbie Bright says, Wendy Davis, couldn't even deviate from the subject of the bill she was filibustering. Ted Cruz read friggin' Dr. Seuss. And finally, Jessica says, when you talk about Cruz, all you can hear him say is me, 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 and oh yeah, me. Find us on Twitter at BP Show.
And by the way, for these conservative bloggers who were saying the media was wrong, the way they treated Wendy Davis and the way they treated Ted Cruz, that's really kind of apples and oranges, because as that one caller pointed out, with Wendy Davis, it was a Texas state legislature. There were very strict rules about how little she could deviate from the subject at hand. The real comparison, if you want, is between Ted Cruz and Rand Paul, or Ted Cruz and Bernie Sanders, both of whom did marathon speeches on the Senate recently, remember? And for Senator Sanders, it was all about Wall Street and the need for regulation, and it was chock full of information about how the fiscal crisis happened and what we ought to do about it. Same thing with Rand Paul. It was all about drones and chock full of information about our expanded use of drones and why this is dangerous.
They weren't reading
country.
Dr. Seuss.
They were not reading Dr. Seuss. No, it was informative. It was very, very effective. That's the contrast with Ted Cruz. Those were really worthwhile speeches. Ted Cruz was, as Harry Reid said, a total waste of time.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hi, friends. This is Bill Press on Free Speech TV. Can't tell you how proud I am to be part of the new lineup here on Free Speech TV. It's been around for a long time. It's a great, great independent source of good, liberal, progressive broadcasting every day. We start out the day, but then, of course, moving on to such great friends as Amy Goodman and Tom Hartman, David Packman. You won't find good news like and good people like us anywhere else, and we depend on you to keep us on the air, so we can visit together every day, find out what's going on, and talk about it. So we need your help to stay on the air, and the number to call to help is 877-378-8669. Of course, you can also go online and contribute at freespeech.org. Help us raise the money necessary to keep this programming coming to your home every day and in 38 million other homes around the nation. Because more than ever in these days with so much corporate media, we need media that is independent, that is transparent, that is truthful. We need Free Speech TV. Now, to maybe encourage you to give as much as you can, we're offering some gifts to you, depending on your level of contribution. First, for those of you who give $120 a year, that's just $10 a month. We'll send you a copy of my book, Toxic Talk. Toxic Talk is all about talk radio, how talk radio is dominated by the right wing, how they got to be so powerful, and what liberals have to do to get some balance on the airwaves across the nation. And I expose some of the real lies told by many of the right-wing talk radio hosts. That's for $120 a year. For $240 a year, that's just $20 a month. We'll give you 2 books. Toxic Talk, as told you about, And this is my favorite book, the favorite book that I've written, How the Republicans Stole Religion. Yeah, what the Gospels really say and how the Republicans distort it, but how they get away with it. And for $360 a year, that's $30 a month, you'll get these two books, Toxic Talk, How the Republicans Stole Religion, and The Obama Hate Machine as well, which is my latest book, all about the Koch brothers and all the money that they spent just to try to bring down President Obama and to defeat all of his policies. That's why your help is so important. We are here on Free Speech TV, bringing you the truth every day, the news every day. Help us stay on the air by giving as much as you can. Thank you.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go on a Thursday morning, September 26th. It is the Bill Press Show, where we're coming to you live from our nation's capital. And our studio on Capitol Hill, brought to you today in part by the International Association of Iron Workers, the good men and women of the iron workers under President Walter Wise. The sky is the limit for them, you bet, and you can find out more about their good work. They just completed that great new Bay Bridge in the San Francisco area. Visit them at their website, www.ironworkers.org. Well, the other big news here in around the country, actually, is the beginning, almost opening season on the health exchanges for those people who do not get insurance at their workplace. All of you will be able to buy health insurance starting next Tuesday, October 1, through one of the health exchanges that are already being set up in every state. In some states, the state is running the health exchange. In other states, HHS is cooperating with the states in making these plans available. But they're everywhere. But the most important thing, first of all, if you got health insurance where you work, then you don't have to do anything. You're lucky, you got it, you got your choice, you got your plan, you're paying into it. But for all of those people who have either not been able to get it through their job or not be able to afford health insurance, it is available starting again next Tuesday. Yesterday, HHS, Department of Health and Human Services, under Secretary Kathleen Sebelius, put out a report on the rates, the plans that are available, and the rates that are available in every single state. Now, you can get it at whitehouse.gov. Whitehouse.gov. There's a map of the United States. Click on your state, and it will tell you what's available. This is very, very, very important. And it is very good news, as we learned yesterday at our White House briefing, for example. And by the way, red states, blue states, doesn't matter. They did not penalize. I was thinking that maybe what Obama should do is he should penalize, for example, Texas. Make them pay through the nose. Yeah. If their Ted Cruz is going to filibuster the thing, then take it out on all the people of Texas. They didn't do that.
Take it out on North Carolina. They went for Barack Obama the first time around. They didn't this last election. Make them pay.
Make them pay. Make them pay. No, they didn't do that. There's no spite here. Everybody gets a break. And what they listen to this. So, on the average, people will have under this 53 plans to choose from. You know, it goes on depending on how much money you make and how much you can afford. There are the bronze plans, there are the silver plans, there are the gold plans, and there are the platinum plans. And inside of each of those plans, there are options from these private insurance. This is private insurance. This is not government insurance. Private insurance that you can buy. On the average, people will have a choice of 53 different plans. 95% of Americans will live in states where the rates are actually going to be lowered than those that were projected when Obamacare was passed 3 years ago. The Congressional Budget Office said at that time, this is what we think the rates will be around the country. In 36 states, the rates are lower than what the Congressional Budget Office proposed. 95% of the population lives in states where the rates are going to be lowered. And the other thing that was pointed out is for 6 out of 10 Americans, they'll be able to get health insurance. You'll be able to get health insurance for less than $100 a month. That is incredible. You can't get that. You can't get a plan for that anywhere else at this time. And some of the lowest rates, in fact, are in Texas. The Texas rates, according to the the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, are among the lowest in the nation. For the bronze plan, which is the bottom plan, right? The bronze plan for all Texas markets averages $211 a month. The lowest cost silver plan averages $287 a month. So Texans get a good break. By the way, so I looked at this, even red state of Georgia. It's a state senator there, Republican state senator in Georgia, that you would think, right, would be out there opposing Obamacare. He admitted yesterday this is going to be a good deal for the people of Georgia. This is, Peter, let's get his name, State Senator Kurt Thompson.
Over time, once the initial rollout is done, folks' rates will go down, and where rates go up, it will be lower at a lower rate.
By the way, so I just clicked on this map here during the break. For example, you got all 50 states. The state of Illinois, right? Got a lot of good friends out there listening. Illinois, Indiana, that area on WCPT. Their average number of health plans available for the residents of Illinois, 58. I mean, that gives you a good choice. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The lowest cost plan premiums for a 27-year-old, $134 a month. Okay.
Wow.
Now, you can get tax credits if you're below a certain income level. You'll get a government subsidy, basically, a tax credit. The lowest cost plan premium after tax credits for a 27-year-old with an income of $25,000, $90 a month. Yeah, I mean, if you get that basic health care, quality coverage for that, man, that is a deal.
Good luck getting that from an insurance company.
Yeah, exactly.
Best of luck to you.
Right. The mid-range plan premiums after tax credits for a family of 4 with an income of $50,000. Family of 4, $50,000. They would qualify for tax credits. Their premium would amount to $282 a month.
Insane.
Again, I mean, that's incredible. So this is what's available. And here's what's happening. First of all, this is a great deal for the American people, as President Bill Clinton said the other day. What is important is the American people know what's available, what their options are. And again, whitehouse.gov is the best place to go to find out what your options are. Republicans realize this is such a good deal. Republicans understand that Americans who know about this and learn about this are going to like it, will sign up. As many as 30 million Americans are eligible for these plans because they do not get insurance at their workplace. The more people who sign up, the more certain it is that Obamacare is here to stay, which is why you've got all this frenzy today on the part of Republicans in the legislature, in the Congress, to try to stop it. That's why they're talking about shutting down the government. That's why Ted Cruz did his speech. That's why John Boehner and the House Republicans are threatening to shut down the government, because they know if enough people sign up for these exchanges, that they have lost their last chance to derail Obamacare. That's what this is all about. And not only are they trying to stop it, as we've talked here on the show, that not only are they trying to stop it here in the Congress, but the Koch brothers and Freedom Works and Dick Armey and ALEC and Americans for Prosperity and all these right-wing groups are out there actually running ads in states around the country lying about Obamacare and trying to convince young people not to sign up. They're trying to undercut it that way. But if young people are smart and see what's available, they will take this opportunity to get health coverage at prices they could never have gotten otherwise, could never afford it otherwise. This is a good deal. Check it out at whitehouse.gov. Tell if you're in that category, do not yet have health insurance, don't get it where you work. Take advantage of this opportunity starting next Tuesday, October 1. We'll be back and talk about the big governor's race in Virginia with Danny Canner from the Democratic Governors Association.
Like politics? Then like The Bill Press Show on Facebook. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hi, friends. This is Bill Press on Free Speech TV. Can't tell you how proud I am to be part of the new lineup here on Free Speech TV. It's been around for a long time. It's a great, great independent source of good, liberal, progressive broadcasting every day. We start out the day, but then, of course, moving on to such great friends as Amy Goodman and Tom Hartman, David Packman. You won't find good news like and good people like us anywhere else, and we depend on you to keep us on the air, so you can we can visit together every day, find out what's going on, and talk about it. So we need your help to stay on the air, and the number to call to help is 877-378-8669. Of course, you can also go online and contribute at freespeech.org. Help us raise the money necessary to keep this programming coming to your home every day and in 38 million other homes around the nation. Because more than ever in these days with so much corporate media, we need media that is independent, that is transparent, that is truthful. We need Free Speech TV. Now, to maybe encourage you to give as much as you can, we're offering some gifts to you, depending on your level of contribution. First, for those of you who give $120 a year, that's just $10 a month. We'll send you a copy of my book, Toxic Talk. Toxic Talk is all about talk radio, how talk radio is dominated by the right wing, how they got to be so powerful, and what liberals have to do to get some balance on the airwaves across the nation. And I expose some of the real lies told by many of the right-wing talk radio hosts. That's for $120 a year. For $240 a year, that's just $20 a month. We'll give you 2 books. Toxic Talk, as told you about. And this is my favorite book, the favorite book that I've written, How the Republicans Stole Religion. Yeah. What the Gospels really say and how the Republicans distort it, but how they get away with it. And for $360 a year, that's $30 a month, you'll get these 2 books, Toxic Talk, How the Republicans Stole Religion, and The Obama Hate Machine as well, which is my latest book, all about the Koch brothers and all the money that they spend just to try to bring down President Obama and to defeat all of his policies. That's why your help is so important. We are here on Free Speech TV, bringing you the truth every day, the news every day. Help us stay on the air by giving as much as you can. Thank you.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go, 14 minutes now before the top of the hour. In the next hour, Kate Nocera from Buzzfeed. She covers Congress for Buzzfeed. I don't know. I always thought she was pretty smart. But, how could she possibly? She stayed up all night with Ted Cruz. No, wait a minute. Don't take that the wrong way. But she stayed up all night long, sitting in the press gallery during Ted Cruz's faux filibuster. Spent the entire night there watching.
One of the few. A lot of other people just went home.
One of the few. Anybody with any brains went home. So we're going to find out from Kate what that was all about. She'll be here in studio with us. Everybody's talking about 2014, but let's not forget there are some very, very important races here in 2013. None more important than the governor's race in Virginia. Big debate last night between Terry McAuliffe, Democratic candidate, and Ken Cuccinelli, Republican candidate. Joining us from the Democratic Governors Association, the communications director, Danny Cantor, on our newsline this morning. Hey, Danny, good morning.
Hey, Bill, thanks for having me.
Hey, good early Thursday morning here. So how did it go last night?
Well, look, I think Terry McAuliffe talked about what he's talked about during this entire campaign, which is how he's going to work in a bipartisan way to create jobs and improve schools and rebuild infrastructure. And once again, Ken Cuccinelli was back on his heels. He really needed a game changer in this race based on where it stands in all the public polling, and instead he was on the defensive about his divisive, extreme social agenda as it relates to women and gay Virginians and middle-class families. He was forced to defend himself over his Star Scientific scandal and his gas royalty scandal in Southwest Virginia. So we feel really good about Terry's win last night. Again, Cuccinelli needed a game changer to really fundamentally alter the dynamics of this race, and he just didn't get it. So there's 6 weeks to go. Terry will continue talking about what matters most to Virginians, and I feel pretty good about where we stand.
The latest polls show McAuliffe pretty comfortably ahead, correct?
Yes, he's had a steady lead. I think the Washington Post showed him up 8 points this week. NBC Wall Street Journal 5. Even Rasmussen, those dyed-in-the-wood liberals, has him up 6. So look, there's still 6 weeks to go. We're going to be working really hard, but what's key is that over this summer, frankly, Virginians learned about the divisive, extreme social agenda of Ken Cuccinelli, and the fact that that's exactly what he would focus on as governor, because that's what he's focused on his entire career. And Virginians are rejecting him, just as we said he would.
Cuccinelli is trying to paint himself as more moderate these days, isn't he? I mean, he sort of, doesn't talk much about the positions that he has taken, as you point out, on same-sex marriage and on women's choice and all the other issues.
Well, he no longer talks about his sponsorship of a personhood bill that would outlaw abortion and ban forms of contraception, including the pill. He doesn't talk about anymore that he was only one of 3 state attorneys general not to actively support the Violence Against Women Act. He doesn't talk about the fact that he was the only state senator who voted against tying child support payments to inflation to help single moms. But he's not backing away from those positions. He just no longer talks about them. So we continue to communicate to voters that he, for his entire career, has focused on this agenda. You shouldn't believe now, just because he's saying the word jobs, that he'd focus on anything different as governor. And I think that's really resonating with voters. Virginia is not a state that wants a governor who says that being gay causes self-destruction to the soul. They want someone who's going to focus on the issues that matter in their everyday lives. And frankly, that is not the kind of social agenda that's going to attract businesses and jobs to Virginia. And that's what Terry McAuliffe's talking about every day.
Danny Cantor is our guest. He's the communications director of the Democratic Governors Association, DGA.org. You can find out more about the governor's race in Virginia and in New Jersey and other governors' positions around the country. So Danny, was there any talk last night about the the race for lieutenant governor? How does that work in Virginia? Are they part of the same ticket?
Well, they run separately on the ballot, but as Ken Cuccinelli has found himself in a tougher position in this race, he's really reverting to his roots. So he actively was campaigning with E.W. Jackson last week, made very clear, disputing news reports that they had been running separately, that they are running as one team. And look, these two share the same views. I mean, actually, the one part where Ken Cuccinelli can't seem to agree with E.W. Jackson is on the government shutdown. I mean, he's got Ted Cruz coming to fundraise with him in a couple of weeks. Last night, he danced around whether he thinks defunding Obamacare is more important than keeping the government open. E.W. Jackson has even said that we've got to keep the government up and running, that Obamacare is something to fight on another day. Cuccinelli couldn't bring himself to say that directly last night.
So Ted Cruz is coming into Virginia to campaign for Cuccinelli?
Yep, that's right. He had Mitt Romney yesterday. He had Marco Rubio a couple days before. I mean, he's got all of the right-wingers coming in to raise money for him because they frankly see him as, the test run for their ideological agenda. And frankly, a lot of these guys are running for president, and they the base loves Ken Cuccinelli. There's no bigger culture warrior, Tea Party hero than him. So they're all rushing to raise money for him, and that's not what Virginians want.
Right. Well, this says a lot about Virginia, doesn't it? That Virginia has changed, particularly, I guess, Northern Virginia, in terms of going from what we could once considered a red state to purple, and maybe even getting a little tinge of blue here, right?
I think that's absolutely right. I think it speaks about Virginia, but I also think it speaks about the ideological agenda of today's Republican Party. Ken Cuccinelli represents the base agenda of the Republican Party, and if they can't win in Virginia, they're not going to be able to win next year in states like Ohio and Florida and Michigan and Pennsylvania and Maine that they won governorships in 2010. Mm-hmm. So, we see this as an important test of that agenda.
That's why this race is so important, why we wanted to talk to you about it, why we've been following it so closely. Hey, Danny, great job. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. All right.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Big debate last night. You find out more about it by going to the DGA.org, the Democratic Governors Association.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww. You should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
Lara Setrakian on Syria in the next hour, and Kate Nocera from Buzzfeed here about the big Ted Cruz faux filibuster. Peter, what's going on?
Shop Talk.
Shop Talk.
We learned not that long ago that Sean Hannity was going to be leaving Cumulus Media and is going to join another radio syndicator. We found out yesterday who's going to replace him. Afternoon Drive on Cumulus will be a measured, conservative, smart guy. Glad they finally made a little bit of a change. It's Michael Savage. It's going to be Michael Savage.
No.
Michael Savage will now be Afternoon Drive for Cumulus Media. You're going to hear him on a lot of conservative radio stations. What they used to do is they used to have him sort of in the evenings and late because he is certifiably insane. And so what they're going to do is they're going to move him up so more people can hear his crazy.
Let me tell you something. I counseled MSNBC against hiring him years ago, and they ignored my advice, and they hired him.
And how did that turn out?
He crashed and burned. If you recall, he'll do the same thing on this afternoon talk. He is absolutely... I mean, the difference between Sean Hannity is wrong on every issue, but at least he is sane. Michael Savage is absolutely insane. He's a nut. He's a dangerous man. This is a bad move.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say? This is Bill Press here. We'll be back to today's broadcast with all of our great guests in just a moment here. But first, just a word about Free Speech TV. I started my nationally syndicated radio show in 2005, almost 8 years ago now. And I've also done, think about it, this is my fifth national television show on CNN. I was co-host of Crossfire. I was co-host of The Spin Room. On MSNBC, I was co-host of Buchanan and Press for several years on TawkrTV. did a show called Full Court Press, and now the Bill Press Show on Free Speech TV. And I've got to tell you, in all that time, with all those different networks, all those different shows, I never felt as at home and as comfortable and as good about what I'm doing as I do right now on Free Speech TV. I'm so glad to be part of this great network that brings you people like Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Packman. So proud to join that lineup. But, you know, and this is the kind of media, the reason I feel so comfortable, because totally independent, totally free to talk about whatever we want to talk about. You get to get involved in the conversation. And that's the kind of broadcasting you'll find nowhere else. It's truly independent, truly transparent, truly truthful, speaking truth to power every day. And that's what we need in this country. But, of course, without any corporate money, without any political ads, without any government money, free speech depends on you to keep us going and to keep this great lineup coming to you every day. So we ask you, if you're already a supporter of free speech, to renew your sponsorship. If you're new to free speech like I am, then join us any way you can. Go to 877-378-8669 and send us whatever support you can. Be as generous as you can. Or you can go to freespeech.org. As a little incentive for joining us, here are a couple of things to consider. If you can give $120 a year, that's just $10 a month, you'll get a signed copy of my book, Toxic Talk, all about right-wing talk radio, who they are, how bad they are, and what the left has to do to get back into talk radio. For $240 a year, that's $20 a month, get a copy of Toxic Talk and a copy of my favorite book that I wrote, How the Republicans Stole Religion. They think they have a monopoly on God, and they don't, because God was a liberal, we know that. And if you can do $360 a year, that's $30 a month. These two books, plus a copy of my latest book, The Obama Hate Machine, all about the Koch brothers and the billions of dollars that they spend to try to defeat anything that Barack Obama stands for. So we need your help. We ask for your help because we want to continue this great broadcasting. Again, you can join us by phone at 877-378-8669 and send your pledge, or go on freespeech.org. Be as generous as you can. We'll keep coming to you every day, and thank you.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids
you.
how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Ted Cruz winds up his faux filibuster, and his fellow Republicans say, what a waste of time. What do you say? Good morning, everybody. Here we go. It is Thursday, September 26th. This is the Bill Press Show. Here we are on your local progressive talk radio station. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Where you happen to be in this great land of ours. Here we are on Free Speech TV, if you're on the Dish Network or Direct TV. Good to see you, as well as hear you this morning. And you can also check out the video stream at TawkrTV, TawkrTV. And you get there by going to youtube.com/Tawker. Again, TawkrTV. We got lots to talk about this morning, lots you're going to want to comment on, both about Ted Cruz, about chances for Obamacare, chances for a shutdown, fighting over the debt ceiling, what's going on in Syria. Is that the peace process or the idea of this deal to get rid of the chemical weapons really going to work? We'll cover all of that in the next couple of hours together here and take your comments by phone at 866-55-PRESS, on Twitter at BP Show, and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Peter Rockburn is team leader this morning. Hello,
Hi
Peter.
there. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. Dan Henning's got the week off. Alicia Cruz is there standing by to take your phone calls, and Cyprian Bolding has his eye on the video cam, keeping us looking good on TawkrTV and on Free Speech TV. So, Peter, the space station, as we have to be reminded every once in a while, is still up there, right?
Yeah.
Even though we're not going for the moon anymore or for Mars, but we got the space station, very active project. And yesterday, there's another Soyuz rocket. We don't do our own rockets to the space station anymore. We have to hitchhike with the Russians. Rocket launch from Kazakhstan yesterday with one American on board, 2 Russians. Here's what it sounded like.
3, 2, 1, ignition.
Intermediate. Lift off. Fly now.
And the Soyuz is now on its way with Mike Hopkins, Oleg Kotov, and Sergei Rosansky on a 6-hour ride to the International Space Station.
Don't you think they ought to do the countdown in Russian?
Right?
Wouldn't you think?
And I don't. No offense to our friends in Russia, but I mean, if you had to take off in a rocket, where's the last place you might want to take off from?
I agree. Having flown on having flown on Aeroflot, I would not trust a Russian rocket to get me to the space station. I've never been comfortable with the fact that the only way we can get there right now is a hitchhiker ride with the Russians.
From Kazakhstan.
I mean, yeah.
Mule-powered rockets?
Yeah. I would only take a rocket from a country where they have flush toilets.
That's right. Indoor plumbing is a requirement.
Indoor plumbing. They don't have indoor plumbing. I don't trust their rocket technology. All right. Hey, coming up, Kate Nocera from Buzzfeed will be in studio with us. Jim Hoffa, president of the Teamsters, is also begun to join us in studio. We'll go down to the White House and say good morning to Josh Earnest, deputy press secretary at the White House. We'll start off this hour. Lara Setrakian used to be with ABC News. Now she has her own blog, Syria Deeply, about prospects for a peace treaty in Syria. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
A couple of quick stories making news. A historic win for the USA at the America's Cup, facing historically bad odds. The Oracle Team USA was in a photo finish to win the America's Cup with New Zealand. They were down 8-1, and all New Zealand needed was one single win. And that win never came. Team America went on a winning streak to rival the most improbable in any sport. They won 7 straight to tie the series, which resulted in a winner-take-all competition yesterday afternoon, which Team USA pulled off and took it all in dramatic fashion.
Unbelievable finish, yeah. Absolutely.
And seriously, if you get a chance to Google and look up the ships that were sailing, they're incredible to look at. They really are. The Paula Deen Image Rehabilitation Tour continues. Her son, Jamie, went on the Today Show yesterday and talked about how everything's going with Mama. He said it's tough when you're in this business. People are going to take pot shots at you. You accept that with the opportunities that it allows you. But personal attacks on your mama is never an easy thing. America not quite ready to welcome her back, though, I don't think.
I'm
Leave
not sure
my
how
mama
this rehab
alone.
is going to work.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I'm not part of it.
Yeah. And one same-sex couple gets the presidential treatment at their wedding.
Yes.
Bonnie Clement and Helen Thorgelson own a general store in Kennebunkport, Maine, and the ladies recently got hitched. Same-sex marriage was made legal in that state in December of 2012. The brides had an intimate wedding that included friends and family, including President George H.W. Bush and Barbara Bush. The president hasn't officially issued any kind of statement on his position on same-sex marriage, but this action speaks volumes. Not only was he at the wedding, he served as a witness. And the brides posted a pic of him signing the marriage certificate. Bush spokesman Jim McGrath would only say, quote, "They were private citizens attending a private ceremony for two close friends."
I think it's great.
Absolutely.
I think it's great that they went to that wedding. They were friends. And it does speak volumes for the former president to be there. And by the way, of course, former First Lady Lara Bush has also said that she totally supports marriage equality, same-sex marriage. I don't think we've heard from George W. on that issue, but former Vice President Dick Cheney is also a big supporter because his daughter had married her partner as well. President Obama, in his talk to the General Assembly this week, expressed optimism that we'll be able to work out a deal put together by Russia, whereby Syria would, in fact, identify and hand over its chemical weapons, and that they could all be destroyed by the middle of next year. Lara Setrakian has joined us in the past from ABC News. Now she is head of her own blog, founder and executive editor of Syria Deeply. It's syriadeeply.org. Joining us on our newsline this morning. Hey, Lara, good to talk to you again.
It's great to be back with you, Bill.
What is the current status of this chemical weapons deal? Is it being worked out at the United Nations? Where is it?
The precise mechanisms of how these chemical weapons will be taken in by the international community and destroyed are being worked out at the UN. They're also being worked on by a team of UN inspectors that are in Damascus now to continue their investigations. From what we understand, open reporting this morning, is that the UN Security Council is quite close to arriving at a resolution to enforce the deal that the Russian U.S. efforts produced, essentially a resolution that would state the consequences if Assad were to fumble or in any way sort of fake his handover and maintain some of that military chemical weapons stockpile to use in the future. So that's where things stand now.
So there would have to be some price to pay for reneging on the deal. Is that it?
Precisely. And what that price would be, that's been a big point of contention between the U.S. and Russia. The U.S. wanted to see what's known as a Chapter 7 resolution from the Security Council. That would mean that the door is open to sanctions or even military action if Assad were to renege on the deal. Russia didn't want to see that. They wanted the threat of force off the table, but that is not something that the West is likely to agree to. From this really interesting item that today in the New York Times, essentially the concession that seems to be in the works is that they would have some language in that resolution that would threaten military action or sanctions under the Chapter 7 provision, but it would require yet another Security Council vote, which, as we know, Russia and China could very well torpedo.
Yeah, and in the kind of hanging over everyone's head, I guess, or out there also, is the threat of unilateral United States military force, which does not go away, correct?
Absolutely. Of course, it's a bit hamstrung from what we saw several weeks back, the domestic opposition here in the U.S., but the fact is this was always a fight that the U.S. was going to have to wage, if anyone. The Turks, the French, some limited qualified support, but they were really going to follow our lead. So if it is deemed strategically necessary to strike the Assad regime, although that seems increasingly less likely, it's something that the U.S. would have to step up and do.
I saw an article over the weekend, Lara, that, the United States, we still have not destroyed all of our chemical weapons, and these have been around since World War II. How is it possible that all of Syria's chemical weapons can be destroyed within less than a year?
A lot of analysts, chemical weapons specialists, say it's virtually impossible, that the challenge of doing it in a war zone, much less with the kind of opaque operations that the Assad regime tends to maintain, just make it practically impossible. But the U.S. government says otherwise. We interviewed Secretary of State John Kerry actually on a Google Hangout, and what he described was a situation where, because the Assad regime has kept control of these stockpiles, and they're primarily in the Assad regime strongholds where there isn't as much active fighting, that it would not be impossible, it would be challenging, but certainly doable, to take control of those stockpiles and to begin to progressively destroy the materials.
I don't know whether we even have time for this, or whether you're the one with the use the scientific expertise to ask, but how do they destroy them? And do they blow them up? And aren't there some, isn't there some danger in getting rid of these weapons?
Next time I join you, I will have the answer. Couldn't tell you the specifics on that one.
Yeah.
But I've heard, in reading the analysis out there, everything, there are specialists well versed in how to do this, both with
I'm sure.
chemically, but also, sophisticated munitions that can neutralize.
Yeah, you and I both are going to have to do a little Googling on that. I'm just wondering the kind of equipment they're going to need, the kind of safeguards and all that kind of stuff. But let me ask you this. So, the administration, and I've been to so many briefings at the White House, they always say, look, we're dealing with this. This is the chemical weapons. And then the Civil War continues, and that's a different operation. But the two really are linked, aren't they? And because, for one thing, anything we do about the chemical weapons is going to take place during the middle of this ongoing civil war, right? So are negotiations on one front, is there any possibility they could lead to negotiations on the other front? That's where I'm getting.
That's the hope. But there are all sorts of thorns in the side of that logic. First off, you could say, listen, Assad has lost one of his most fearsome tools in this fight. Insofar as he used chemical weapons on his own people, it's because he was getting desperate. This is a fight to the last man in Syria. And having chemical weapons, not just the threat and the fear of them, which, let me tell you, is very fearsome for civilians in northern parts of Syria that are no longer under regime control, but also the actual use of them to clear out whole areas in rebel control. That was a real tactical and strategic advantage that Assad had maintained in this fight. So he lost that, granted. But you hear a lot of Syrians on the opposition, and I'm not talking to people, the politicians in exile, I'm talking to Syrians on the ground that we speak to, who don't only feel let down by the U.S. pedaling back on the threat of force, but also say, listen, this basically means he's gone all out using conventional weapons. He's lobbing Scud missiles at us. He's dropping what are known as barrel bombs, which are improvised explosives that are just horrific, cluster bombs. This is Human Rights Watch talking. They're doing some terrible things in that country to try to beat back opposition to the Assad regime, and that has only intensified since all of these talks began. So his actual ability to maintain the status quo and cling to power is arguably shored up by this deal. And the fact that he now has to be part of this negotiation through the first half of next year at least, many say that secures his position in power. So Washington has basically gone from a situation where they said Assad must go to basically engineering a situation where he must stay, at least for the coming 8 months.
God, it's so complicated. Lara Setrakian is our guest. Syria Deeply is her new blog. Very, very important information there, syriadeeply.org. Finally, Lara, just quickly, New York Times article, lead this morning, Syrian rebels will abandon exile leaders. It seems this split among the opposition just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and more power going to the Al-Qaeda-related rebels.
Yep.
Yes?
To dissect that, there are two big dynamics in play I'll touch on briefly. One is that on the ground there is an open war between the Al-Qaeda rebels and the more moderate forces of the Free Syrian Army. And the Al-Qaeda folks have had much more momentum because they have better equipment, better arms, donations flowing in from backers of extremism. We haven't done the same for the moderates, so they've been down for for the count for a while. As for the external opposition, these politicians, Ahmed Jarba, the Syrian National Coalition, these guys don't have too much credibility on the ground. People look, first of all, many of them haven't lived in Syria for a very long time, but separately, people look at them and say, okay, it's all nice and well for you to meet in fancy hotels in New York and Qatar and Istanbul, but you don't understand the suffering of the people and you're really disconnected. Now, you could say that says, oh, it's going to throw up your hands and say, this is ridiculous, the opposition's in a terrible state. Or you can see it as, there are Syrian voices on the ground who have legitimately been leading peaceful protests, trying to organize local councils and trying to arrange garbage collections because there's no one left to do it anymore. There are people in Syria who are fighting for the future of Syria and who see this as a battle for the democratic freedoms that they've always said they wanted. And so they look at these guys, they're not fighting our fight. They're kind of looking after their own political gains. So there is that sort of point of contention.
Right, got it. It is so complicated, but so good to have you there, Lara, and thank you so much for shedding some light on it this morning for us. We appreciate it. SyriaDeeply.org. That's our blog, Lara Setrakian.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey friends, we'll get back to today's program in just a couple of minutes here. Hope you are enjoying it. But first, I need your help. Need your help and need your support in keeping free speech going and keeping us on the air with all of you. A lot of people ask, how do we put this show together every day? Well, we're at it all the time, looking at what's happening in the world. Peter Ogburn, Dan Henning, and I, we have a conference call at 5 o'clock every afternoon about what we're going to do the next morning. And then we huddle here about between 5 and 6 before we go on the air to put the whole show together. And then we have another meeting right after the show to start planning the next day's show. So we're always at it. Whatever the issues of the day are, whether it's all the unrest over maybe shutting down the government, whether it's the civil war among the Republican Party these days or President Obama's efforts to have a peaceful solution to the problems in Syria and with Iran. We take a look at it all. We bring you the stories that we know that impact you and your family. We look for what you will want to talk about, what's really important to you. And we could do that nowhere else but right here on Free Speech TV, because Free Speech TV is totally independent, totally transparent, totally truthful. No corporate money, no political ads, no government agency money. And that's why we depend so much on you. So we ask you again to be as generous as you can by helping keep free speech on the air. You can make your pledge by going to the phone number 877-378-8669 or, of course, online to freespeech.org. And I'll tell you what, as a little incentive and a thank you for your help, if you're able to help us with $120 a year, that's just $10 a month, we'll give you a signed copy of my book about right-wing talk radio, Toxic Talk. You can help us with $240 a year. That's $20 a month. You get a copy of Toxic Talk and my book, How the Republicans Stole Religion. How about all the Republicans claiming they have a monopoly on faith, which they don't. In fact, they distort the Bible for their own purposes. And for $360 a year, $30 a month, if you can, these two paperbacks plus a copy of my latest book, The Obama Hate Machine, all about the Koch brothers. But again, we depend on you for your help to enable me and Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Packman and all the rest of the great lineup on Free Speech TV to be with you every day. So help us out, please, as much as you can. Be as generous as you can. Telephone number again is 877-378-8669, and you can reach us online at freespeech.org. It is a great honor and a pleasure to be with you every day, so keep us going, help as much as you can. Thanks.
is the Bill Press Show.
Kate Nocera covers Congress for Buzzfeed. She was there during the entire Ted Cruz talkathon. She'll be joining us here in studio right after the half. Big day in California yesterday. We talked about Governor Jerry Brown yesterday signing legislation which would enable you to go to the social media and wipe out anything that has ever been said about you or anything you have yourself said on the social media. Get a clean slate. That was the day before yesterday. Yesterday, he signed another very, very important piece of legislation, which would raise the minimum wage in California up to $10 an hour. Jerry Brown says it's just the right thing to do.
It's my goal and it's my moral responsibility to do what I can to make our society more harmonious, to make our social fabric tighter and closer.
Up to $10 an hour, President, the federal, in California would be the minimum wage. Unfortunately, at the federal level, it has been stuck at $7.25. President Obama wants to raise it to $9, but even $9 is just not enough. As Senator Tom Harkin has told us here on our show, it's got to be a minimum of 10. So good for California. Good for Jerry Brown showing the way. I hope other states will follow, and eventually maybe the federal government will catch up to that point. I mean, because the fact of it is, even if you're working a 40-hour job at the minimum wage, Americans are still living in the state of poverty. That's hardly a living wage. Where do we go from now with Ted Cruz? Kate Nocera's got the answer coming up next.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hi, friends. This is Bill Press on Free Speech TV. Can't tell you how proud I am to be part of the new lineup here on Free Speech TV. It's been around for a long time. It's a great, great independent source of good, liberal, progressive broadcasting every day. We start out the day, but then, of course, moving on to such great friends as Amy Goodman and Tom Hartman, David Packman. You won't find good news and good people like us anywhere else, and we depend on you to keep us on the air, so we can visit together every day, find out what's going on, and talk about it. So we need your help to stay on the air, and the number to call to help is 877-378-8669. Of course, you can also go online and contribute at freespeech.org. Help us raise the money necessary to keep this programming coming to your home every day and in 38 million other homes around the nation. Because more than ever in these days with so much corporate media, we need media that is independent, that is transparent, that is truthful. We need Free Speech TV. Now, to maybe encourage you to give as much as you can, we're offering some gifts to you, depending on your level of contribution. First, for those of you who give $120 a year, that's just $10 a month. We'll send you a copy of my book, Toxic Talk. Toxic Talk is all about talk radio, how talk radio is dominated by the right wing, how they got to be so powerful, and what liberals have to do to get some balance on the airwaves across the nation. And I expose some of the real lies told by many of the right-wing talk radio hosts. That's for $120 a year. For $240 a year, that's just $20 a month. We'll give you 2 books. Toxic Talk, as told you about. And this is my favorite book, the favorite book that I've written, How the Republicans Stole Religion. Yeah, what the Gospels really say and how the Republicans distort it, but how they get away with it. And for $360 a year, that's $30 a month, you'll get these 2 books, Toxic Talk, How the Republicans Stole Religion, and The Obama Hate Machine as well, which is my latest book, all about the Koch brothers and all the money that they spend just to try to bring down President Obama and to defeat all of his policies. That's why your help is so important. We are here on Free Speech TV, bringing you the truth every day, the news every day. Help us stay on the air by giving as much as you can. Thank you.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
How about it? Thursday, September 26th. It is the Bill Press Show here on your local progressive talk radio station, on Free Speech TV, and on TawkrTV. Brought to you today by AFSCME, the largest public employee and healthcare workers union in the entire country. For more information about the work of the good men and women of AFSCME under President Lee Saunders, go to the website at afscme.org. They're making America happen. That's AFSCME, AFSCME.org. 21 hours and 19 minutes after he started speaking, Ted Cruz wrapped it up yesterday with his big talkathon in the United States Senate, and nobody was happier to see him finish than Kate Nocera from Buzzfeed, who covers Congress for Buzzfeed, and who was there the entire time. Why?
My boss made me. No, it was. There was a certain point around, I think, 12:30 where I thought to myself,
"Go home."
Maybe you should go home, but I've made it this far, so I might as well just stay. And that I figured he couldn't talk past 3:30
in the morning.
In the morning,
yeah.
I assumed he would want to beat Rand Paul's time, and then he would wrap it up and go home. But then it was 3:30, and then it was 4, and then suddenly the sun was coming up. It was a beautiful sunrise yesterday morning.
Do they have coffee there?
So they didn't have coffee there. All of the coffee places were closed, but I put out a request on Twitter sometime around 6 in the morning where I said, I'll marry the first person who brings me a cup of coffee. And suddenly I get an email from a Twitter follower that says, I'm heading to Starbucks right now. I live 4 blocks away. What do you want?
A guy?
A guy did. I don't think we're engaged. I haven't double checked.
You don't think?
But I was very grateful. I think he got a little scared when I, physically charged him for the coffee. At that point, I was a little scary yesterday morning.
All right, I want to know how many people were sitting in the Senate while Ted Cruz was speaking.
Well, it depended on what time. A constant presence was Senator Mike Lee from Utah.
Sitting at his desk.
He was there. He would get up and ask very, very long questions to give Cruz a break. Pretty much most of Cruz's staff was in the galleries at some point.
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, there are the pages that are there to assist on the floor, the guards, and whatever poor Democratic senator is in charge of presiding over the floor at that time. They had 2-hour shifts, and you could just see the forlorn look in their faces as they entered the Senate and had to sit there for 2 hours. Only Senator Tim Kaine from Virginia, I don't know if you know, but he was actually very engaged and paid a lot of attention to when Cruz was talking. And so when his shift ended around midnight, he got up and started asking Cruz questions about it. It was pretty incredible.
Well, I thought the highlight of the of Senator Cruz's comments were the exchange that he had with Mike Lee?
Yeah, Mike Lee.
With Mike Lee over the Panama hat.
There's something called the Panama hat. Can you tell me what part of the world the Panama hat comes from?
Well, I would yield to that question and note that it could possibly be Panama. You might think if you call it a Panama hat that it would make sense that it'd be Panama, but nope, think again. Ecuador. Ecuador makes Panama hats. I don't know that anyone makes Ecuador hats.
That's a pretty fun manversation they're having.
I mean, I thought they were talking about healthcare.
Well,
right? Is there no rule in the Senate? They can talk about anything they want?
They can talk about anything they want. He could have read from the phone book if he wanted to. He could have
read from Green Eggs and Ham.
Which he, in fact, did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I noted it was probably the first time I would have with a goat was said on the Senate floor.
Although those congressmen from West Virginia,
we don't know.
Be careful.
I don't know, but I think it was the first time it was put. It was definitely the first time it was put in the congressional record.
So, what was accomplished by the whole thing?
So, from where I'm standing, what was accomplished is that Ted Cruz solidified his position as a hero to the Tea Party and conservative groups. I think he only further pissed off a number of senators in his own caucus because as he was talking, there were a lot of Tea Party groups that were really engaged on Twitter through all of this, blasting out the phone numbers of senators who were either, not going undecided or have publicly stated they're not going to support Cruz. And
those senators whom he compared to people who refused to stand up to the Nazis in World War II.
Yeah, he said he was talking about, anyone who didn't stand up, and it wasn't senators specifically, but it sounded a lot like he was talking about his fellow senators. It was quite a statement. But I do think that he probably did achieve some mind changing at some point with a few of them.
Senators?
With a few senators. I mean, you did see. So Mike Enzi, who has this primary challenge in Wyoming from Lynn Cheney. Lynn Cheney puts out a statement saying that she stands with Ted on this, and Enzi, who I really have never seen come to the floor and talk. I mean, I know that he has, but he's a very quiet member. Suddenly he was there asking questions of Cruz. He wanted to make it known that he was there and supported Ted Cruz and all of this.
So at the end of it, they have a procedural vote, and Ted Cruz votes yes.
He does.
I mean, that surprised a lot of people.
Senate rules are really, really, really confusing. So this was a motion to proceed to take up the bill, I'm pretty sure, to start debate on the House bill. I was confused by it for a while. And he said at the beginning of his speech, I went back and looked, that he would vote, and that it was the Friday vote on cloture on the House bill, which is the bill that defunds Obamacare and keeps the government running. That's the vote that he is asking everyone to vote against. Friday vote.
But it struck me as not just confusing, right?
Yeah.
But contradictory, because he was opposed to the process, the procedure whereby the Senate could strip this out. So by opening the debate, he in effect was voting to open the procedure where he's going to lose.
At around noon yesterday, after staying up, I mean, yes, it was confusing for a lot of us because all we had heard him said for the last 21 hours is vote no on cloture, vote no on cloture. And you really had to be paying attention very closely to understand that he meant the Friday one, and he said he always meant the Friday one. I mean, the New York Times pointed out that on Sunday he said that he didn't want anyone to move forward with anything. So it does, in fact, seem a bit contradictory.
The New York Times also reports this morning, which I didn't realize, is at the very time when Senator Cruz started speaking Tuesday night, there was a fundraiser for Senator Cruz here in Washington, D.C.
I didn't know that either. I read that. Yeah.
$2,500 a plate.
Right.
Where they had TV sets with Senator Cruz speaking on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
This was the entertainment at the dinner, if you will. So is that what this was all about, 2016?
Yes. I mean, I think that it's hard to argue that that didn't have something to do with it. I mean, he energizes his groups. He makes money for his PAC that actually hasn't made a ton of money. He raises more money for the Senate Conservatives Fund. But he can make some cash off of this.
Right.
So, like
for sure.
to condense that 21 hours into a digestible little piece of information. Yes, tyranny. Yes, Obamacare. Let's get rid of it all. Meanwhile, I got to get paid.
he has to. I mean, I think that it certainly raised his profile, and he needed. My story, I sort of looked at the Rand filibuster versus because I spent a lot of time with Rand when he was talking. And the difference between the two is the Rand filibuster was so organic, and drone policy is sort of above a partisan. Mm-hmm. It's a nonpartisan that, liberals agreed with him on a lot of what he was saying.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah. And he didn't know that he was going to be talking for as long as he did. He saw a moment where he would be able to filibuster. Cruz planned this out. He went to Harry Reid on Monday and said, I need to talk. I need to talk, and I need to talk for a long time. When can I do that? And Reid gave him a time because he knew the vote was locked in. The vote was going to happen no matter what. No one objected. So he let him go. He went out and he bought comfortable shoes. Who knows what was happening with the bladder. But we can assume that he was prepared. And so I think that was a really big difference in sort of the feeling of the filibuster and what it was like, or the talkathon, or whatever.
So you were there for Rand Paul and Ted Cruz. Did you ever think that you might just have horrible luck?
I was also there during the fiscal cliff on New Year's Eve until 2:30 in the morning.
Oh, man.
Those couches in the Senate are really comfortable. Thank God.
They got a cot there with Kate's name on it.
That's exactly.
All right. So what do you think? Join the conversation here, 866-55-PRESS, 21 hours and 19 minutes. Was anything accomplished at all from the Ted Cruz Talkathon? We'll be back here on the Full Court Press this Monday what? Monday? Jesus.
You sound like me, Bill.
Come on.
No. Thursday, September 26th.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say? This is Bill Press here. We'll be back to today's broadcast with all of our great guests in just a moment here. But first, just a word about Free Speech TV. You know, I started my nationally syndicated radio show in 2005, almost 8 years ago now. And I've also done, think about it, this is my fifth national television show on CNN. I was co-host of Crossfire. I was co-host of The Spin Room. On MSNBC, I was co-host of Buchanan and Press for several years. On Current TV, did a show called Full Court Press, and now the Bill Press Show on Free Speech TV. And I've got to tell you, in all that time, with all those different networks, all those different shows, I never felt as at home and as comfortable and as good about what I'm doing as I do right now on Free Speech TV. I'm so glad to be part of this great network that brings you people like Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Pakman. So proud to join that lineup. But, you know, and this is the kind of media, the reason I feel so comfortable, because totally independent, totally free to talk about whatever you want to talk about. You get to get involved in the conversation. And that's the kind of broadcasting you'll find nowhere else. It's truly independent, truly transparent, truly truthful, speaking truth to power every day. And that's what we need in this country. But, of course, without any corporate money, without any political ads, without any government money, free speech. Free speech depends on you to keep us going and to keep this great lineup coming to you every day. So we ask you, if you're already a supporter of free speech, to renew your sponsorship. If you're new to free speech like I am, then join us any way you can. Go to 877-378-8669 and send us whatever support you can. Be as generous as you can. Or you can go to freespeech.org as a little incentive for joining us. Here are a couple of things to consider. If you can give $120 a year, that's just $10 a month, you'll get a signed copy of my book, Toxic Talk, all about right-wing talk radio, who they are, how bad they are, and what the left has to do to get back into talk radio. For $240 a year, that's $20 a month, get a copy of Toxic Talk and a copy of my favorite book that I wrote, How the Republicans Stole Religion. They think they have a monopoly on God, and they don't, because God was a liberal, we know that. And if you can do $360 a year, that's $30 a month. These two books, plus a copy of my latest book, The Obama Hate Machine, all about the Koch brothers and the billions of dollars that they spend to try to defeat anything that Barack Obama stands for. So we need your help. We ask for your help because we want to continue this great broadcasting again. You can join us by phone at 877-378-8669 and send your pledge, or go on freespeech.org. Be as generous as you can. We'll keep coming to you every day, and thank you.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
11 minutes before the top of the hour, President Jim Hoffa of the Teamsters joins us in the next hour. We'll also be talking to Deputy White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest. Kate Nocera covers Congress for Buzzfeed. She was there, a loyal trooper during the whole Ted Cruz talkathon. So now, Kate, this ball is in the Senate's court.
Right.
The government runs out of money Monday, September 30. What's going to happen between now and Monday?
What's going to happen now?
Procedurally, how does it work?
I'm like 80% on this. That you have a vote on Friday or Saturday morning in the Senate.
In the Senate.
On the House bill, which we need 60 votes. One would need 60 votes to pass this bill. And that's the vote that Cruz is trying to get all the Republicans to vote against. Because then that sets up a situation where Reid can offer an amendment to strip the portion of the bill that defunds Obamacare and then send back to the House a clean continuing resolution.
A continuing resolution to keep the government running.
To keep the government running.
And leave out the Obamacare stuff, right?
Right.
That goes back to the House.
That goes back to the House.
Already voted the opposite. And then, so they get this Monday morning, Saturday, Sunday?
I think it's a little up in the air if it's going to be over the weekend or on Monday morning. They're leaving that open, and they're trying to decide they could attach something like a year delay to the individual mandate, or something that they want and think they can get out of the Senate, like a repeal of the medical device tax. I mean,
who?
The House.
The House will.
They could.
They could. Okay.
They could. Boehner could also decide, you know what? This is not a battle I want right now. Let's save our leverage for the debt ceiling, which is going to be a whole nother ball of fun in the middle of October.
October 17th.
October
deadline.
17th is the deadline. And he could just say, let's just pass this. Let's just get this done with and move on, and then focus on what we really want, and that's, extracting some stuff out of the debt ceiling.
But they don't have much time. They've got to.
We have no time.
Right. By midnight Monday, it's going to be one way. And if they can't resolve it by midnight Monday, they were shutting down.
Yeah.
Right.
There is another possibility. This is another possibility that I read. I forget where I read it. That we could pass a week-long CR. Just very quickly, so we had some more time to figure all of this out.
Yeah. I mean, they pass a week-long CR, then they'll go home for 5 days, right? And then they'll come back, and then it'll be the same kind of thing all over again.
Yeah, I'm tired.
So what are the chances, do you think, that they will work this all out by September 30, and the chances there will not be a government shutdown?
I am sort of 50-50 right now. I've been here for a while. I've seen this happen before. It always happens at the last minute. They figure something out and we don't shut down. This time it feels slightly different. It feels like there are enough people who don't think that a shutdown is really going to hurt them. There are
enough people who want to shut down.
There are enough people who want to shut down. I mean, I think some Democrats, kind of wouldn't mind because it may help them politically. They would never say that publicly, but I think in their heart of hearts, they might look at 2014 and think, well.
So here, and the disturbing news is that even if we do work this out by Monday, September 30, and there's no shutdown, we're going to be in the very, very same mess with the very same arguments in 2 weeks,
right,
over the debt ceiling.
with some sort of bigger economic implications.
Huge, yeah.
So,
Kate Nocera, good work.
Thank you.
Thanks for staying up all night. You were there working for us. We appreciate that very much.
You got it. Anytime.
I'll come back and tell you what the Prezi's up to today. Thanks.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, don't forget now, the third hour coming up. We're going to lose you on Free Speech TV. Too bad. But we can continue to come to you on stream, the video stream, on TawkrTV. So you go to youtube.com/TawkrTV, and a great big third hour coming up with Josh Earnest, Deputy Press Secretary from the White House, about all the health exchanges. And then the president of the Teamsters Union in studio with us, the Honorable James Hoffa. Stay with us for that third hour.
Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know, you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go, 3 minutes before the top of the hour. In the next hour, big hour here on the Bill Press Show. President Jim Hoffa, president of the Teamsters Union, will be in studio with us. And we'll also be talking to Josh Earnest, the deputy press secretary, down at the White House. President Obama, a major speech today on the Affordable Care Act, on Obamacare. He's going up to just north of here, north of Washington, D.C., Prince George's Community College in Largo, Maryland, at 10:55 this morning for a major speech on the Affordable Care Act. It's been billed as one where the president's going to talk about his own family and how his own family could have used and benefited from universal health coverage. This afternoon at 4:25, the president will be attending a DNC, Democratic National Committee event at the Jefferson Hotel here in Washington. We reporters will be meeting with Jake Carney for our daily press briefing at 12:30 today in the Brady Press Room. Back with President Jim Hoffa and Josh Earnest from the White House.
This is the Bill Press Show. Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Ted Cruz, 21 hours and 19 minutes later, ends his talk and then turns around and votes yes to open debate on Obamacare. So what was that false talkathon all about? Hey, what do you say, everybody? Good morning, good morning. Great to see you this Thursday morning, September 26th. It is the Bill Press Show. We are coming to you live from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and bringing you the news of the day with your chance for you to give us your comments at 866-55-PRESS. That's our toll-free number. Or you can send us your comments on Twitter, of course, at BP Show, and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. We are here live on your local progressive talk radio station and, of course, also on TawkrTV. If you want to stream the show, that's our video stream at TawkrTV. You find that by going to youtube.com/TawkrTV. Got the team, most of us assembled here this morning. Peter Ogburn running the operation here.
Doing what I can here.
Doing what you can, running the board, and also the full court press and everything else. Dan Henning, who's got the week off. Got 2 more days of it at any rate. Alicia Cruz has the phones covered, and Cyprian Bolding on the video cam, keeping us looking good on TawkrTV. Lots of news in the sports front yesterday. The Yankees did not make it for the first time in 19 years,
It's
right?
the second time in 19 years that they haven't made the playoffs, which is unbelievable.
Yeah. And the biggest sporting news is out in San Francisco. The U.S. America's Cup team came back from an incredible disadvantage. They were down 8-1. You needed 9 wins to win the America's Cup. The U.S. team, of course, defending the America's Cup with a strong challenge by New Zealand. New Zealand up 8-1 last weekend, and this week the United States team started winning and winning and winning and winning. They won 7 straight, tied it up at 8-8. Yesterday was the winner-take-all, and the United States won 9-8, keeping the America's Cup. Here's what it sounded like.
Oracle Team USA take the America's Cup here in San Francisco. An astonishing comeback. They'll retain the America's Cup and have a shot to defend again the next time around. Oracle Team USA crossing the finish line. That's the sound of victory here in San Francisco.
For Larry Ellison and the America's team, congratulations. The United States keeps the America's Cup, which means they get to decide where the next race will be held. I think it's 2 years from now. We got a lot coming up. President Jim Hoffa from the Teamsters will be joining us. Hope to hear from Josh Earnest down at the White House. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
A couple other stories making news. RoboCop is coming home to Detroit. Back in 2011, some enthusiastic residents of Detroit started a Kickstarter fund to build a giant RoboCop statue to erect in the city. And the statue would be based on the fictional crime fighter from the movie of the same name. It was released in the 80s. The fund caught fire online, and they were able to raise nearly $70,000. They commissioned an artist to build the statue, and very good news, Bill, it's nearly done. Brandon Wally, director of development for the nonprofit Imagination Station, says the statue will add, quote, will add nicely to Detroit and the rejuvenation that's happening here. And he hopes that it will be erected downtown.
I think that's good for Detroit, but they need a lot more than
just a RoboCop statue.
RoboCop statue.
You think?
Yep.
When comedy turns ugly, last night was the funniest celebrity in Washington competition. It's an annual gathering of D.C. celebrities to try their hand at stand-up comedy. Last night's winner was Grover Norquist. And if that doesn't make you angry, this will. They had a professional comedian by the name of Dan Nanan. He made an appearance and littered his routine with several racial jokes. Josh Rogan, writer for the Daily Beast, tweeted about the racial humor. Nanan saw them online, confronted Rogan, and then punched him in the face. Police were called. Nanan was arrested. He shows no signs of worry, though. He says just a couple of hours ago, quote, had a blast headlining the D.C. Improv, end quote. I hear it was a big hit.
Wait. I got to ask you a question. Grover Norquist?
Funniest celebrity in Washington,
funniest celebrity in Washington?
That's how it went down.
I got to tell you that if Grover Norquist is the funniest celebrity in Washington, this town is in more trouble than I thought.
Seriously. And finally, same-sex couple gets the presidential treatment at their wedding. Bonnie Clement and Helen Thorgelson own a general store in Kennebunkport, Maine, and the ladies recently got hitched. Same-sex marriage was made legal in that state in 2012. The brides had an intimate wedding that included friends and family, including President George H.W. Bush and Barbara. The president hasn't officially issued any kind of statement on his position on gay marriage, but this action speaks volumes. Not only was he at the wedding, he served as a witness. And the brides posted a picture of him signing the marriage certificate. Bush spokesman Jim McGrath would only say they were private citizens attending a private ceremony for their friends.
Good for them. Good for the president and Barbara Bush for attending that wedding. I think that is a powerful statement to many Republicans who refuse to recognize marriage equality and the importance of it across the country. Well, you know, folks, here on the Bill Press Show, we are very proud to be very pro-labor and also to have the support of a lot of America's leading labor unions for our show, which comes out to you every day. And one of the earliest supporters and stronger supporters of the show have been the Teamsters Union under President Jim Hoffa. And it's a great pleasure to welcome our friend, President Hoffa, to the studio this morning again. Jim, good to see you.
Well, Bill, it's always a pleasure to be on your program. It's a good one.
Thank you. And you've been busy about a lot of stuff. You know, I think a lot of people don't recognize that the Teamsters are in a lot of different activities right this year, these days. It's not just the old truck driver, although they're very important, but tell us about some of the stuff.
Well, you know, the Teamsters has 1.4 million members, and we are, as we always say, that we are airline pilots to zookeepers. And people say, well, what do you mean by that? And I just attended a meeting of our Women's Caucus, and I was so proud to get up and give a speech and talk about, well, you know, A to Z, airline pilots to zookeepers. And guess what? We have airline pilots, we have zookeepers, we have court reporters, we have attorneys, we have lawyers, we have doctors in our union. We have everything, and that's the thing. We're not just truck drivers. We're a broad spectrum of America, and that's really the way you keep relevant in this country. You just can't be truck drivers. With deregulation, the trucking industry's changed. We're down to 2 or 3 major trucking companies right now. So, but we've expanded into UPS. We've expanded into DHL. We've expanded into a lot of other areas that are really relevant to what's going on right now. So it's a fast-paced business right now. But to stay relevant, you've got to be everywhere and organizing. We're organizing a number of places right now in the ports out in California. We're organizing Armstrong flooring right now. 500 people at one place. That's what's going on. I mean, it's 500 here, 500 there, and keeping our members up to date. So it's a big job, but it really works pretty well.
Now, how do you account for the fact that the latest figures that I saw that only 11% of American workers today belong to a labor union?
Well, I think that I see those numbers too, and it's very disturbing. But I think that what it is, it's basically a changing of the economy. There's more part-time workers. There's more women working. And, you know, the Walmarts of the world have come in. There's so many people now that are working part-time that didn't work years ago. The whole structure has changed. And I also think that a big part of it has been, is the trade policies. What jobs have gone to Mexico? What jobs have gone? And the answer is the high-paying jobs, the good jobs, the unionized jobs. I mean, we've lost, hundreds of members, thousands of members. And why? Because, the guy making, $20 an hour that can support his family, that has health care and pensions, well, those companies want to take those jobs, shut them down, and move them to Mexico. So the good jobs are gone. The hamburger flipping jobs, the part-time job at Target, they're still here. And that's the problem. And the economy's changed, and it's harder and harder to get people that are working part-time, 20 hours a week, 22 hours a week, harder and harder to get them into the union. So it is changing, but we still have a tremendous impact. Politically, we have an impact. We're the backbone of the progressive movement in this country. So we're very relevant right now. But you're right, the numbers are disturbing, and it's part of what's going on is the economy's getting bigger and the workforce is getting bigger, and our part might be just staying the same.
Isn't it also true? And look, I'm a 30-year member of a labor union and proud of it, and I know what the labor union has meant to me and to my family in terms of health care and all the other benefits. Isn't it that some of today's workers enjoy all the benefits that have been fought for and won over the years and don't recognize that they wouldn't have those benefits today if it weren't for the union? Right?
Well, that's true. That's the kind of thing that we say all the time. We remind people that why do you have the 40-hour
middle
week?
Class.
And why do you have overtime? Why do you have paid vacations? Why do you have health care? the answer is this was all pioneered by unions. And today, a big corporation, to say relevant, has to meet the standards we have. In the trucking industry, we've basically raised the level in the trucking industry. Now, granted, we've got deregulation, but we've raised the level, and the answer is people have a better life because of us.
In terms of benefits and safety, too.
And a company will also say, I don't want to be union, so how do I stay non-union? I basically have good standards where people are less interested in unions. So, and in that way, we're rising, that we're the tide going up all the time.
Yeah, and getting that message out is really
it's lost in translation sometimes, but we remind people always about how relevant we are and how basically, and of course there's always people trying to say that we're not as relevant as we were, and we really are. Here in Washington, we're tremendously active in everything that's going on here, and basically across the country. Working on legislation that helps people. Misclassification's a big issue right now. One of the big things in California and New York and New Jersey is, employers taking a person that's a hardworking person that works, 60, 70 hours a week and misclassifies them, as an independent contractor, sends them a 1099 and says, in other words, you're on your own, buddy.
Yeah.
Because I don't want you on my payroll. And that's the biggest thing right now. We've been doing things in California, and we have tagged employers out there with millions of dollars in fines for misclassifying workers. So that's another front that we're working on. And again, just like you say, we don't get credit for it, and they might not be members of our union, but we're working to raise the levels for those people and to discourage employers from misclassifying people.
You mentioned California. Governor Jerry Brown yesterday signed, whom, as you know, I worked for his first time around as governor, signed legislation yesterday which would increase the minimum wage in California from $8 an hour, which is already more than the federal minimum wage, which is now stuck at $7.25. Raise it in California from $8 to $10 an hour. It's going in the right direction, but still not enough, is it?
No, it's not. I think somebody told me in Australia the minimum wage is $15. The movement we see right now at McDonald's and people talking about, a living wage. Let's face it, we all know you can't live on $8 or $9 an hour. And, a worker going to work there might make $8, $9 an hour. They might work, 30 hours a week. That means you've got to have a second job to support a family.
Sure.
How hard is that? Everybody knows it is. So you're running from that job to another job, just trying to make ends meet, and you hope that you have some type of benefits. Maybe I might get a little health care. You're not going to get a pension. And that's this treadmill. That you're like that mouse on the you just keep running and running and running from job to job, and that's what's happened today to millions of Americans right now. And to me, that's not the American way. I mean, we can't have people lower. And the problem is in this country, we're lowering our standards, not going up, making people work harder and harder to survive in America. And you see it at McDonald's and Burger King. And I have a friend of mine. She is 72 years old, and she's working at Target, unloading trucks.
Whoa!
72 years old.
Yeah.
And she was off because she had a back injury. I said, "Oh, you have back injury at 72? You might have a back injury," and it's just amazing. And she gets some kind of a health care out of it, and which she needs. But isn't that an amazing story?
No, it is. Yeah, and the fast food workers, their whole slogan has been, and around the country, I saw some of them yesterday on strike here in Washington, D.C., can't survive on $7.25, which is absolutely true. They work at that, and they're still, even if they work a full year, 40-hour work week, they're still living in a state of poverty in the minimum wage. We have to take a break here. President Jim Hoffa from the Teamsters, you don't often get a chance to talk to the boss, maybe, if you're a Teamster member out there, or talk to the president of one of our great labor unions, President Jim Hoffa from the Teamsters. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. We'll talk about the latest trade deal, too, the TPP, coming up here on the Bill Press Show. Stay with us.
Like politics? Then like The Bill Press Show on Facebook. This is The Bill Press Show. Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, you got it. 26 minutes after the hour now. President Jim Hoffa, the president of the Teamsters, here. It's Teamster.org. In studio with us, and President Hoffa here is from Chicago. One of your members, Tommy. Hello, Tommy. Good morning.
Hey, Bill. It's Tommy. I'm from Teamsters Local 703 out here in Chicago. I have a question for President Hoffa.
Hi, Tommy.
Hey, President. Listen, I'm also a union student. I try to organize out here. And what I'm running into is a lot of times when I try to organize these new companies, they fire the employee that I actually get in there to try to get the card signed. And we used to have jobs. We can get these guys. And now we can't do that no more. And I'm just wondering what type of advice President Hoffa would have for a guy like myself.
Well, what we do is when you get that going, I think the best thing you can do is you write a letter to the employer, you saying these people are working on organizing. Then the employer has knowledge that these people are being involved in organizing and concerted activity is what the NLRB calls it. And then they're on notice. So then if they fire them for some reason, you've got a better case because they always say, well, we didn't know he was involved. We just fired him. Uh-huh. And that's one of the things we do. And I would suggest you do that. Consult your local lawyer. You got a good local out there. But, that's one of the things you do, and it makes it harder to fire the guy once the employer knows that he's organizing.
Oh, so this is the way they do undermine the organizing effort, right? Was fire the
first thing they do is to fire your activist in the place. Oh. And the problem with the NLRB, Tommy, you know this, you might wait a year to win the case. They have unlimited money. They have lawyers, and they string the case out. A year later, the guy doesn't have a job. What happens to him for a year? Then he might get back pay a year from now. Well, by that time, he's lost his home, they know that. So.
There you go. Tommy, good advice from the very top here. Here's Pat in Beloit, Wisconsin. Hi, Pat. Good morning.
Good morning. I want to address an issue that you may or may not be aware of, but because the history books are being written in Texas, the union movement has pretty much been written out of the U.S. history classes in this country. And that's frightening because that's the beginning of where we learn about what unions have done for us.
That is interesting. Yeah,
you're exactly right. And we've led the battle to try and get labor, being taught. We've been in contact with some of the universities here. George Washington University has a course. I've talked to the president, and they talk about labor history, and that's important to get that going, and also in high schools too.
Absolutely. I've got to interrupt you right there because we have to take a break here, President Hoffa. We'll be right back. Got another half hour. More calls coming up.
Is the Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 33 minutes after the hour, it is the Bill Press Show. Of course, we are coming to you live from our nation's capital. Brought to you today by the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. We all live better because of the great work of the men and women of the Teamsters Union under President Jim Hoffa. You can check out more about their good work at teamster.org. That's their website, teamster.org. President Hoffa himself in studio with us this hour here of the Bill Press Show. President Hoffa, so many things I want to ask you about. Just one more question, if you can elaborate a little bit more. I mean, what Pat's comment, I never thought about that, the history books and how important it is that students learn about the contributions that unions have made. I mean, the union movement is so much a part of the economic history of this country and the political history of this country.
I'm afraid that the union contribution and the union movement is being written out of textbooks, especially in a place like Texas, which is a very right-wing state,
Yeah.
right-wing governor. They have an impact on what goes into the textbooks, what's taught in schools. And we have played such an integral role in the history of this country since the turn of the century. Like you said, we talked about how we're the ones responsible for the 40-hour work week, for overtime, paid vacations, health care, pensions. We pioneered all that, and that's been written out of the history. And so many young people today don't even know what a union is. I was telling you a
all
story
the great battles that have been fought,
and the battle of the overpass, the sit-down strikes, the great strikes that took place in Minnesota over the years in the 30s. So these are things that have been written out of the history, and what we've got to do is to try and refocus on that. We've made a number of efforts to get it back into textbooks at a high school level, and we're working with a number of universities to get it taught at a college level too. So a lot of these people, I was telling you the story about, I was recently somewhere and I was wearing my Teamster jacket, and somebody walked up to me and said, "What's a union?" And I'm telling you, and it was a person that should have known better, and I had to explain what a union is. And that is going on today. There are young people that don't know what a union is. And that is frightening. And that is basically what's going on with our educational system. And that happened to me within the last 6 months.
Now, one of the other things I wanted to ask you about is that we know that Senator Ted Cruz from Texas, takes to the floor of the Senate, not for a filibuster, but for his talkathon, 21 hours and 19 minutes, where he did a lot of things. He talked about Panama hats and Chinese gooseberries. He read Green Eggs and Ham. And then he read, among other things, in the middle of the night out loud a letter that you had written about Obamacare, and Ted Cruz basically alleging that you are on his side against Obamacare. What's
well,
the record
what could
here?
be, nothing, that's ridiculous. Ted Cruz is using my name in vain because, we are for Obamacare. It's 40 million people going to get health care that don't have it. Our differences with the administration is we want to have more access. The union funds, the union Taft-Hartley funds, we want them to have more participation in this plan, and that's what we're working on with the administration. We've had over 40 meetings with the administration, and we're trying to get that done, and we're working on it right now.
This idea that you're part
but
of
we're not against it. I mean, because we realize this country needs health care. I mean, there are millions and millions of Americans that don't have health care. Can you imagine not having health care today and being sick? I mean, we always... people take for granted, number one, being well. If you're well, you don't even think about getting sick. But the people out there that are sick, and they can't get health care because, number one, if you have diabetes, you have high blood pressure, you can't even get insurance. But under Obamacare, you can. Yeah. So it basically gets rid of preconditions, and I think that's good. But the problem, we do have some differences, but we're not against it. So he's basically misquoting us, and we put out a statement to that effect.
Yeah, no, and Ted, right, a misrepresentation on the part of Ted Cruz, which is important to clarify. One of the big issues that I know that you've been working on, by the way, I just on the healthcare thing, we would not even be as far as we are today on healthcare if it weren't for the unions who were the first ones to fight for this for their members and to fight for universal healthcare. That's always been a number one priority of labor unions since I've been involved with the unions.
Well, absolutely. It's always about healthcare, and the unions pioneered healthcare because most employers never thought about providing healthcare going back to the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and it was the unions that said, okay, one of the things, the benefits of working here is, number one, we're going to raise wages. Number two, we're going to provide healthcare for our members, and the union movement provides healthcare for millions and millions of Americans and have done it for, half a century.
Trade deals. The labor movement was very, very strong voice against NAFTA, which unfortunately went through. And now there's the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or the TPP, which is the latest one on the horizon. Good or bad or indifferent or?
Well, trade agreements can be good if you do it right. And unfortunately, we just find that almost all the trade agreements are so slanted for big business, and they end up exporting American jobs and undermining standards that we have here. Laws that we've passed at a national level or a state level that protect the environment, that protect our food, that protect work safety. And some of these things, these agreements that they make, let corporations and companies in faraway places like Brunei challenge us in court and basically undermine what we're working on. But let's go back a little bit. I have this saying: there's NAFTA, CAFTA, and SHAFTA. NAFTA and CAFTA, and then the workers got the SHAFTA. And then after that, we had the China trade policy. And we have told, going back to Bill Clinton, we predicted this was going to be a disaster. And exactly what we predicted happened. Millions of jobs have left this country. They've either gone to Mexico, or the jobs have been exported to India or to China or something like that. Everybody knows this. I can give you 20 companies that have moved out that we used to have under contract. And they went for one reason: it's cheaper. I mean, we lost a company that had 500 people, working in Iowa, and the employer says, well, I can just do it cheaper. And these people had worked there for 30 years, and they were hardworking, and they made money, and they supported their family, and it was a whole community. And they just say one day, well, we're going to close down. And they basically shut them down, and they put all the presses and things on a train and sent it to Mexico. Now, that's a real fact, and that's what's going on, and that's what happens every day. That's what's wrong with these agreements. We've got to have things that create American jobs and basically protect what we've worked so hard for. But what we find is that once we do these trade agreements, they even have things in there that you can't have anything in your laws that say Buy American. Can you imagine that? What's the most important thing we need right now? We need jobs in this country. You need manufacturing in this country. You need basic things in this country. And they want to write out the ability to write in Buy America, which the Pentagon has and stuff like that. Yeah. There's a constant thing of, we got to get rid of that so we can buy, what are you going to buy, our tanks from China? I mean, what are they thinking? I mean, and that's what's going on. That's what we're fighting every day. So we can have a trade agreement that basically creates jobs, that opens markets for us. We're not against trade. We're for trade, but we're for fair trade, not free trade. I always tell people there's no such thing as free trade, just like there's no such thing as a free lunch.
As a free lunch, right. Let's say hello to Sam. Sam's calling from Chicago also. Hey, Sam, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I just want to make a quick point about the minimum wage and purchasing power. I had my first job when I was 14 years old in 1962. Worked at the corner candy store in New York. Made $1 an hour. I could go to the pizzeria across the street and buy, for that $1, 6 slices of pizza and have a dime left over for a Coke. What can you get for the minimum wage today? That's it.
Excellent point, right?
Well,
the minimum wage just has not kept up with.
Well, that's exactly right. You make a very good point, Sam, and because, $7.25 is nothing. And then some of these guys, we'll pay you $8. This is the McDonald's workers. You can't support a family on that. And then we all work that we get a W-2 or we get a paycheck. We see all the deductions. So even you work 32 hours and you get $8 an hour, and then they take out the withholding. My God, like you say, you can't even buy a pizza. And then you're going to support a family. You're going to have rent. You're going to buy food. You're going to clothe your family. It can't be done. And then you have to have a second job. You're basically, the mouse, on that treadmill, round and around and around. And I know more and more people like that. And that's what America is becoming. Basically, you've got 2 jobs, 3 jobs. And it's just wrong. And we've got to raise the minimum wage. And you know what? These corporations are making billions of dollars. Take McDonald's. McDonald's, the CEO, I don't know if he makes $50 million a year. He makes that money. The board of directors is flown around on private planes, but they can't pay the people another $1 or $2 or $3 that would make such a difference in their life.
It's raising the minimum wage and then just linking it to the cost of living, right, or whatever, every year, so that we don't have to have this battle like the the federal minimum wage has been raised since the days of George W. Bush and is still stuck at $7.25.
Yeah,
you know.
$7.25 is so out of date with what's going on. You know, I always ask people, has your rent stayed the same? You know, has your mortgage stayed the same? You know, has the price of gas stayed the same? Has the price of food? Everything's gone up, and everybody knows what the cost of living keeps going up. Why don't we index it? And it's so simple. The answer is the employers don't want to do it, and they got a big say in this town.
President Jim Hoffa from the Teamsters here. Your questions, your comments, welcome at 866-55 as we cover the landscape of labor-related issues here in this hour of the Bill Press Show on Thursday, September 26, 866-55-PRESS is the toll-free number.
This is the Bill Press Show.
But LifeLock Service. And now 11 minutes before the top of the hour, President Jim Hoffa here with us in the studio, the Bill Press Show. Mr. President, thanks again for coming in. I saw last week when the Census Bureau released its report on the number of people who are living in poverty in this country, which is pretty scandalous. Also, the fact that for the average American family, they're making less money today than they were in 1989. And we're also in a situation today where we have, 30 million Americans without a job? What are we doing? I mean, you hear a lot of talk about a lot of different issues. I don't hear much talk about the number one issue, which is jobs.
Well, isn't that the most important thing to America? I know the same study. They said there's 46 million people living below the poverty level.
Right.
And there's 25 million people that can't find jobs. And America has changed. There really are not the good jobs here anymore. Now, obviously, if you're some person that's a brain surgeon, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about the average American that goes out, lives his life, maybe doesn't go to college. Where does he go to work? In the old days, there were manufacturing jobs. There were places you could work.
Well, that's the thing. Manufacturing has disappeared.
And manufacturing is where the average guy could go and make a good life. Work at Whirlpool, work at Ford, work at Caterpillar, work somewhere where you could have a good life, have health care, pension, raise a family in America. Those jobs are gone. Those jobs are in Mexico. They're somewhere else. That's what's wrong with this country. I think sometimes, what if I was the person, a young person, a good, hardworking person, wants to get a job, finishes high school, maybe doesn't want to go on to college. Where does that kid go? And the answer is, I know. He goes to McDonald's or he goes to Walmart, and that's the problem. Those are not jobs. Those are just a way station, and we've got to find some place where people can get good jobs. And number one, it starts with raising the minimum wage. We've got to get more money into the hands of people out there that want to work, that want to have good jobs. But the problem is there's just no manufacturing. Now we start to hear about a little trickle of jobs coming back from China, Mexico, but that's not enough. We've got to open factories here. These corporations that like Apple and all these places, they have billions of dollars. The first thing they do is open up a factory in China, and then they export back here. They assemble everything over there. Why can't they build a factory in Silicon Valley and put thousands of people to work? Why can't they do that? We see those pictures of thousands of Chinese assembling Apple computers. Why isn't that here in America and putting thousands of people back to work? Can the wages be that much different? And by the time you ship things all the way back here, that's the way we get America going again. And we've got to encourage businesses to do that. But, I blame big business for doing that because they've led the idea of taking jobs out of this country. They can't get out of here fast enough for one reason. They want to make more money, and they don't care what it does to this country.
Well, we also encourage that, right, with the tax policies that give them a tax break for exporting jobs.
Well, you're exactly right. And also, our trade policy encourages people to leave. Look at NAFTA. I mean, at one point, there was some kind of a company or part of the government that was telling people how to leave the country and how to get tax deductions that you could deduct. When President Obama ran for office, he had an idea, and he never did it, but he said, we're going to tax the people that leave this country, and we're going to have a tax incentive to stay in this country.
Right.
I don't think he ever got it done. But it was a great idea. In other words, we can do the taxes that if you stay here, you're going to get tax incentives, you're going to get deep write-offs, and things like that to encourage you to build a factory here to put America back to work. On the other hand, it's just the opposite. These trade deals encourage people to go to China, Bangladesh, or whatever. I mean, what do we see? Buildings falling down, with 10,000 people die or something like that because they're making T-shirts for somebody, so everybody can have a cheap T-shirt. Well, I'd rather pay $1 more for a T-shirt and have jobs in this country.
Amen. It's got to be the number one priority. We get lost. It gets lost in the shuffle, unfortunately. Jobs, jobs, jobs. That's what it's all about. That's what you're all about. President Hoffa, thanks for coming in today. And thanks for your continued support of the program. Appreciate it.
Bill, it's always a pleasure to be with you.
All right. Thank you. And I'll be back with a quick parting shot.
This is the Bill Press Show. The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, on this Thursday, September 26th, my parting shot for today. A funny thing happened to Ted Cruz after he made such a big ass of himself with his faux filibuster yesterday. When everybody made fun of him, including most of his Republican colleagues in the Senate, some conservative bloggers tried to blame it all on the media. Yeah, they said they treated Ted Cruz like a buffoon, but they treated Texas State Senator Wendy Davis like a hero. Well, of course we did, because there's a big difference between the two of them. Ted Cruz, for one thing, did not do a real filibuster. He wasn't attempting to block any vote on any issue. That vote had already been scheduled. And in fact, when the vote was held, he ended up voting for the resolution he had just spent 21 hours talking against. Wendy Davis, on the other hand, did in fact filibuster the Texas anti-abortion bill. She prevented a vote on that bill before midnight. The big difference, in other words, is that Wendy Davis is the real thing and Ted Cruz is a phony. Or as Republican Congressman Peter King calls him, he is a total fraud. Yes, Wendy Davis made a difference. Ted Cruz did nothing but grandstand and raise money for 2016. Hey, folks, have a great Thursday. Come on back and see us again tomorrow morning.
This
see you then. Have a
is
good
the
one.
Bill Press Show.